Your childhood trauma is still controlling your adult life. If you keep attracting the same heartbreak, money stress, and self-doubt, it's not coincidence. You may think your life keeps repeating the same painful lessons because you are unlucky, but patterns do not repeat without reason. When the same relationships collapse, the same financial pressure returns, and the same self-doubt whispers in your mind, something deeper is at work. These loops are created by emotional wounds that never had the chance to heal. Until they are seen and released, your reality simply replays the same story in new costumes. 6 hidden wounds are shaping your relationships, your money, and your self-worth. Inside every struggle with love, abundance, and confidence live 6 core emotional wounds. They form silently in childhood, moments when you learned how the world treats you and what you must do to survive. These wounds become programs that influence how you attach, what you believe you deserve, and what you subconsciously avoid. You do not choose them consciously, yet they influence your choices every day, shaping your life from the background. The first wound is abandonment. Abandonment is created when love suddenly disappears. It may not always come from parents leaving. Sometimes it comes from emotional absence, broken promises, or inconsistent care. This wound teaches your nervous system that closeness is dangerous because it can vanish without warning. So later in life, you may cling, overgive, or leave first, not because you want to, but because your body is trying to protect you from being left again. Abandonment teaches you to chase or to run. When abandonment lives in the body, relationships stop feeling safe. You may feel intense longing for connection, yet panic the moment someone comes too close. One part of you wants to merge completely, while another prepares an escape route. This inner conflict creates instability in love and business alike. You are not broken. You are responding to a memory stored in your nervous system that still believes loss is inevitable. The second wound is loss. Loss is formed through grief that was never processed. It might come from death, separation, sudden changes, or dreams that collapsed before they could grow. When loss remains unresolved, your heart learns that happiness is temporary and dangerous. So you protect yourself by staying detached or emotionally guarded. Deep down, you expect endings, even when beginnings are standing right in front of you, quietly waiting to be embraced. Loss teaches you to expect endings. Even when life offers something beautiful, the wound of loss whispers, "This will not last." So instead of leaning into joy, you brace for disappointment. This expectation shapes your behavior in subtle ways. You may hesitate to invest fully, to commit deeply, or to dream boldly. Not because you lack courage, but because part of you is still grieving a chapter that never received closure or compassion. The third wound is neglect. Neglect is not always loud. Often it is quiet, invisible, and misunderstood. It forms when your emotional needs were ignored or minimized. You may have learned to stay quiet, to need less, or to disappear emotionally so you would not burden others. Over time, this wound teaches you that your presence does not matter. Even in a room full of people, you can feel unseen, unheard, and strangely alone. Neglect convinces you that you are invisible. This wound creates a deep sense of being overlooked. You might be competent, kind, even successful, yet still feel like something essential about you is not acknowledged. You may struggle to receive support, praise, or love because your system learned that no one was truly available. It is not that you are unworthy of attention. It is that your inner child never experienced what it means to be emotionally met. The fourth wound is betrayal. Betrayal forms when trust is broken by someone you depended on. It might be lies, secrets, manipulation, or broken loyalty. This wound teaches you that people are unpredictable and that safety cannot be guaranteed. Over time, you begin to armor your heart. You may appear strong, independent, or in control, but beneath that surface lives a constant scan for danger, ready to defend at the slightest hint of disappointment. Betrayal builds walls around your heart. Instead of letting love flow, betrayal creates boundaries so thick that intimacy becomes difficult. You might test people, hold back, or stay guarded even with those who care deeply about you. These walls were not created to push love away. They were created to keep pain out. But walls that block hurt also block connection, abundance, and vulnerability. Healing betrayal is not about trusting others first. It begins with trusting yourself again. The fifth wound is abuse. Abuse leaves marks far beyond the physical or emotional moments themselves. It rewires how your body perceives the world. Your system learns to stay alert, tense, and hyper-aware, even when danger has passed. You may live with a quiet fear that something bad is always about to happen. This wound does not make you weak. It makes you incredibly adaptive. But survival mode is not meant to be a permanent home. Abuse keeps your nervous system on high alert. When the body has learned threat, safety can feel unfamiliar. Calm moments may even feel uncomfortable, as if you are waiting for the next impact. This is why many survivors struggle to relax, receive pleasure, or trust peace. Your system is not broken. It is simply doing what it learned to do to survive. Healing abuse is about teaching your body that the danger is no longer here, even if the memory still is. The sixth wound is rejection. Rejection is created when love, attention, or acceptance was withheld in moments when you needed it most. This wound convinces you that something about you is fundamentally wrong. So instead of stepping forward, you hesitate. Instead of asking, you stay silent. You may shrink your desires or avoid opportunities, not because you lack talent or worth, but because your heart is protecting you from the pain of being turned away again. Rejection teaches you to hide. You may watch others move confidently towards success, love, or visibility, while something inside you whispers that it is not meant for you. This is not intuition, it is memory. Rejection shapes your self-image quietly, convincing you that it is safer to stay small than to be seen. Healing this wound is not about forcing confidence. It is about gently reminding your inner world that belonging is your birthright. These wounds shape your reality. Abandonment, loss, neglect, betrayal, abuse, and rejection do not disappear with time. They become filters through which you see the world. They influence who you choose, what you allow, what you avoid, and how deeply you believe you deserve more. Every decision you make is touched by these unseen imprints, but awareness changes everything. The moment you recognize the wound, you begin to loosen its grip on your future. Your patterns are not flaws, they are memories. Every time you say, "This always happens to me," you are not complaining about fate. You are witnessing a wound replaying itself. Patterns are not punishments, they are invitations to heal. They exist so the pain that once had no voice can finally be heard. You do not repeat because you are failing. You repeat because your inner world is asking for compassion, safety, and release. What is learned can be released. These wounds were not born with you. They were learned through moments where love was uncertain or safety was lost. And what is learned is not permanent. Healing is not about erasing the past. It is about updating your system so it no longer lives there. When you bring gentleness to what once hurt, your body begins to reorganize. Slowly, quietly, your future becomes lighter than your memories. Healing rewrites the future. When healing begins, life does not suddenly become perfect, but something shifts inside you. You respond differently. You choose differently. You allow yourself to feel what you once suppressed. This is how the future changes. Not through force, but through softness. Each time you honor your emotions, your nervous system learns a new language. A language that speaks safety instead of survival, trust instead of fear. When abandonment heals, you stop chasing. You no longer beg for love or fear silence. You feel whole whether someone stays or leaves. This does not make you detached, it makes you grounded. You begin to attract connections that feel steady, not dramatic. The emptiness that once drove you fades into a quiet sense of self-support. Love becomes something you share, not something you search for desperately. When loss heals, joy becomes safe. You allow yourself to enjoy moments without bracing for the ending. Happiness no longer feels like a setup for pain. Instead, it becomes a state you can inhabit fully. You trust that even if things change, you can survive the change. This is the freedom loss once took from you, now gently being returned through healing. When neglect heals, you feel seen. You no longer disappear in rooms or silence your needs. You begin to show up emotionally, first for yourself, then for others. You recognize your own worth without waiting for permission. Being visible no longer feels dangerous, it feels natural. This is the quiet confidence that emerges when the inner child finally feels acknowledged. When betrayal heals, trust begins within. You no longer scan constantly for threats. You learn to listen to your intuition without fear. You trust your ability to choose wisely and to recover if things go wrong. This inner trust becomes the foundation for all other connections. You do not need guarantees. You need presence, and that presence now lives inside you. When abuse heals, safety becomes your home. Your body no longer expects danger around every corner. Rest becomes possible. Peace feels familiar. You stop living as if you are always one step away from disaster. Instead, you breathe more deeply, move more gently, and allow your system to experience what it was denied for so long. This is not weakness. This is resilience finally allowed to soften. When rejection heals, you stand tall. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that never honored you. You speak more freely. You dream more boldly. You trust that your presence is not an inconvenience. It is a gift. Rejection once taught you to hide. Healing teaches you to rise, not in defiance, but in quiet self-acceptance. Your life is not broken. Nothing about you is defective. The pain you carry is evidence of how deeply you felt, how much you endured, and how long you adapted. These wounds were not mistakes. They were strategies your heart used to survive. But survival is not the same as living, and you are ready for more than just surviving. Your wounds are waiting to be heard. Healing does not demand perfection. It only asks for presence. When you sit with your pain instead of running from it, something shifts. The parts of you that once screamed quietly begin to relax. They were never trying to sabotage you. They were trying to protect you. Now they are ready to rest. When you choose to heal, reality reorganizes. Your outer world changes when your inner world does. People respond differently. Opportunities feel lighter. You notice things you once ignored. This is not magic, it is alignment. When you no longer move from wounds, you move from wholeness. And wholeness naturally attracts love, abundance, and belonging. You are remembering who you were before the pain. There was a version of you who trusted life, who felt wonder without fear, who loved without armor. That version was never lost. It simply stepped back so you could survive. Healing invites that part to return, not to erase what happened, but to reclaim what was always yours beneath it. You were never too much or not enough. Those beliefs were never truths. They were conclusions drawn in moments of hurt. Now you get to rewrite them. You are allowed to take up space, to need, to receive, and to belong. Nothing about you is excessive. Nothing about you is lacking. You are whole, exactly as you are becoming. Choose to heal. Today is not about fixing yourself. It is about choosing to release what no longer needs to live inside you. Let abandonment, loss, neglect, betrayal, abuse, and rejection soften their hold. You are not here to repeat pain. You are here to transform it into love, abundance, and self-worth.